Coming up next, To Kill a Mockingbird. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Bookin It. I am, of course, your humble and eloquent host, Cooper Cobbs, and over there, we've got Tanner Lewis. How you doing, Tanner?
I'm doing great over here.
Yep, and down there we've got Isaiah Ratchke. How you doing, Isaiah?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Good, and of course, Matthew Killingsworth. How you doing, Matthew?
Well, howdy, folks. I'm doing great today.
Matthew, you don't have to talk about accent.
Sorry for that was a bad accent. My bad. No, I'm doing good too. We just started back school this week from the break.
That's right.
So
How was your guys' Christmas?
It was awesome.
Oh, it was a great break.
Yeah, Matthew focuses on the break from school, and Isaiah was like, "Oh, it's just awesome."
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we all went on our separate after Christmas vacations. How were each of those?
We did. Mine was fun. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah, mine was really
Mine
fun.
was good.
Yep.
We exhausted every single one of our extra episodes, so now we are recording for next week.
We're only a few days behind when this is going to be released. So, yeah,
it's all right. It's all right. It was worth it.
But
it's like an Iron Man 2 when he's just like eliminate, or Iron Man 3 when he's just like eliminate all of them. You know, clean slate protocol, just for Christmas. That one.
Yeah, I haven't seen Iron Man 2 yet, but that's okay. Anyway. Today,
in Cooper's defense, he hasn't seen any Iron Mans.
No, I
haven't either.
I've seen pretty much all of the Marvel movies. Anyway, we're talking about To Kill a Mockingbird. Okay, just like I said in the intro. So,
right.
First off, let's get some baggage on To Kill a Mockingbird. Who wants to go first?
I shall go first because that is what I do. To Kill a Mockingbird is obviously a very well-known book, and because of that reason, I have heard of it, pretty much like heard about it or heard of it from people for about as long as I can remember. I've never had any interest in reading it because every time I've heard about it, it's been from someone who has said they had to read it for school, and that didn't sound interesting to me. So yeah, I never really had any interest in reading it until I did, in fact, have to read it for school this year. And I did, and I enjoyed it a lot.
All right.
So that's my baggage.
That's great. Tanner, Isaiah?
Well, I guess I could go. Mine's basically similar to Matthew's. I never read it till like 3 weeks ago. I didn't start reading it till 3 weeks ago, and I probably heard about it first time whenever I was like 10 from some of my friends who had to read it for school, like Matthew said. And yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right, Tanner, go ahead.
Yeah, my baggage for this book is similar yet not to Isaiah and Matthew's.
See what I like about Tanner when he does this. It's like it's basically the same as as Matthew and Isaiah.
But he wants to phrase it differently.
I'm gonna say it so poetically and make it sound like it's not that different, which is awesome. So go ahead, tell us your baggage.
Yeah, so apparently my mom's been quoting this for like my entire life. I haven't noticed until I read the book.
That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely awesome, except not. But I didn't know anything about this book until I saw it on the school reading list, which was not exactly exciting for me because let us just all admit, like 30% of the books that we read for school suck. Agreed?
Oh yeah,
easily more than 30%.
Thank you for being.
I'm like lower, and Isaiah's like, oh no, way more than that.
Yeah, but this one was really good, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Awesome.
Cooper, what's your baggage?
Yes. Yes. Success. Okay, so I don't really remember a time where I haven't remembered To Kill a Mockingbird. My grandpa, he loves the movie, and basically it's his favorite movie, and he knew it was the book first, and he loves the book too. And for me, my grandpa like reads kind of the Tom Clancy kind of books. So to hear him like kind of more of a drama kind of book that To Kill a Mockingbird is was kind of strange. And I was like, well, I have to read this book someday. And I don't know. I don't know why I didn't read it until this summer. But anyway, I read it over the summer because a bunch of my school books came in and I read it. And I really didn't have any idea about what it was about. I mean, I thought it was going to be more about killing mockingbirds, but it wasn't. Much to my
I
dismay.
actually thought it was going to be like hunting or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same.
something like that. Or just kind of a drama about kids killing mockingbirds and people telling
Right.
them no. Anyway,
Yeah.
I read it and I loved it, and it wasn't all what I was expecting. And I watched the movie, and here I am, and I'm excited to talk about it on the podcast.
Got to add that at the end every time. Totally.
Oh, I do that every time. I didn't notice that. Anyway,
No, it's good. It's good. It's good. Yeah. So, but I will tell you guys about the author who wrote this great book. So as you probably know, her name is Harper Lee. But as you probably didn't know, Harper is her middle name and her first name is Nellie. So she was Nellie Harper Lee, born in Monroeville, Alabama on April 28th, 1926. That's a lot of numbers right there. But she was educated at the University of Alabama before writing her more well-known novels. And
wait, she only wrote
ones.
technically 2, right?
Yeah, she really did only write 2, but she wrote some like other stories and things. But these are like her 2 best known works by far were To Kill a Mockingbird, and the other one was Go Set a Watchman, which is I've never read it, but I'm kind of interested in it. I've heard it's like a sequel that takes place like 15 or 20 years after To Kill a Mockingbird, so that's kind of interests me after reading To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, the plot's a little different. It's more controversial. Yeah. That's what I've heard.
Right. But I don't know. I might be interested in reading it if I ever have time to. But so even though she only wrote 2 books, she still receives the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 2007 for contributions to contributing great classics to American literature. And she died at the age of 90 in February 2016, back where she started in her hometown of Monroeville, Alabama. And that's pretty much it.
Nice.
Short.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So I think the plan of episode, we're going to talk a little bit about why To Kill a Mockingbird is being banned from some schools and kind of its history of that, and then we'll just talk about the book as a whole. In what order do you guys wish to do this?
Let's do it.
I have no clue why it's being banned. Let's talk about the stuff you looked up first.
Okay.
We have no opinion, and we need you to tell us what to do. That's basically what we're saying.
That's why
there's a reason why to host.
Okay. Before we start getting serious and stuff, I just gotta say this is cracking me up. Cooper's over there, and he keeps changing his background and his foreground on his Zoom call meeting. And so a second ago, I looked over there while someone else was talking, and he had a movie theater. It looked like he was playing on a movie theater with people watching him, and he was just chugging a water. So it was pretty funny. I'm pretty sure that was his Whataburger water bottle too. So that's I just had to point that out because that was really funny. Yeah. But now we can get serious.
That's right. Now we can get serious. Okay. Whew. All right. Hey, just a little note to our sensitive listeners. This stuff may contain a little bit more adult themes. It's just letting you guys know, giving you a heads up real quick. So anyway, this is from the Banned Book Project, kind of a weird place to find anything. Quote, To Kill a Mockingbird is one of the most frequently challenged books in the U.S. due to its themes of rape and profanity and racial slurs. While numerous attempts have been made to ban the novel since its publication, 2 successful cases of banning have occurred within the past 3 years. In 2017, the novel was removed from the 8th grade classrooms in Biloxi, Mississippi, due to a complaint from a parent citing the use of the N-word and fear that the class reaction to the word may negatively affect her daughter. So now, that's in quote, sorry. What do you guys have to say to this banning?
Well, first of all, obviously it's going to get a lot You said it. The first stat you said was that it's one of the most contradicted
Frequently challenged
books.
books. Yeah.
Yeah, frequently challenged books. And since it's like such a popular classic book, it does make sense that it's going to be one of the most challenged. But as far as what you were saying about it getting banned in Mississippi, you know, I guess for a specific, like if it's specifically going to affect your daughter in a negative way and you know it, I don't know what the exact situation was. I don't know if she was being like, oh, my daughter's going to be offended by this, or if she's going to say, oh, my daughter's going to think it's okay to just go around and say words like that, like what you read in books all the time.
Mhm.
And so obviously for one of those, I think that would be okay for you to personally, like, not maybe not even ban the book, but just sit down with your daughter and say, like, this is what's okay and this is what's not. You're going to read some stuff in books and this is what you're going to see in this book, but that doesn't mean it's okay. There is different things happening in different time periods, and the time period that this takes place, the some of the words in the book were necessary, if that makes sense.
Necessary. Yeah.
Well, just
to kind of show what was going on
to
back then.
express like how it was back then, I guess. Like that's just the words that they used. And
Right.
like as far as the word rape being in the book several times, there was a court case that was there was scenes, like whole sections of the book were about this case, and the case was because a guy was being accused of rape. So that
Right.
word is going to be in the book. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but
Yeah. So doing some of this research for this stuff, they were a lot of them actually said that they didn't want to focus on all the stuff that happened in the past with the racial tension and stuff like that. And some of the big response to that was, well, hey, we need to learn about what happened back then so we can, know why it was wrong and kind of
Right.
give some examples of what's going on today.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you don't know history, you're going to repeat it. And
history repeats itself anyway, almost though.
Hey, people just don't know their history, and because they don't know their history, let's think about the raping that's happening, in this book. And the use of the N-word that they were talking about. They're overlooking the fact that the book is entirely purposed to end the use of all of that.
Exactly. It's not portrayed as good. Like, it is portrayed as the opposite of good. I mean, you're doing some of the research again. There was one proposed ban. I don't think it got passed, but it was saying that the book was immoral, and just because it shows immoral things doesn't mean the book's trying to make a point about saying this is good, right? But again, there can be bad examples of this, like the Netflix film, Cuties and stuff like that. The argument is made, there are many reasons why a person would show something bad, maybe even to tell other people it's bad or something like that. But again, the book is not portraying this stuff. It's portraying it in a bad light. It's saying this is terrible and it shouldn't happen, right?
Well, yes, that's something I was going to say. It seems kind of like opposite to me for people to be offended by this book or think like it should be banned or canceled because of the use of the N-word or how Black people were treated in the book. But when you think about it, the entire story was about a Black guy who nobody wanted to defend him, and then one guy stepping up and defending him. And even though he got hate, even though his family got hate, even though he made it harder for his own family, he stood up for the man because he was a human being. And that's part of the beauty of the story. Obviously, that's not the entire story. The main story is about the Girl Scout and everything. But
Right.
as far as that part of that side story in the story goes, that's how it went. It was on you were on the side of Tom Robinson.
Yeah. Actually, I don't think I have this one pulled up here, but there was one story about this woman who tried to ban it because it showed essentially people, of color who were basically had to be saved by a white man. and they didn't want that to be in a classroom, which is, I mean, I don't know. Like, that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is not
you're
white
focusing
people
on all the
saving
wrong
black
stuff.
people.
That's it.
Exactly. The point of the story is that there was severe racial injustice back then, right? And somebody needed to
That
fix that.
some people were trying to fix it. Of course, the black people hated the racial injustice. Many
Right.
white people didn't hate the racial injustice. But in order, like, if you had to have some white people who are going to help them out and defend them in order to change how it worked. Because if all the white people were against them, then they never would have. You see what I'm saying?
Nothing would have changed from it because all the white people were in power.
Like, you can't
Right.
get upset that someone was helped by a white person, and that's the book you're reading, focusing on all on that. That's the only like, it was showing them being saved by a white person. Like, that's I don't know.
I mean, they're missing the point. Like,
They're missing the point.
look, I get it. If you don't want to, if you're reading this book aloud in a classroom and you don't want to say the N-word, like, don't say it. If you don't want to read the trial scene, you don't have to read it. I mean, there is some heavy stuff in this book, but I don't know if it should be banned just because of that.
If
So,
you're,
this
like I was saying, if your child is genuinely going to have a problem with something in the book, like a serious problem, not just being offended by it or something, but like have a serious problem with it, then you can handle that with your child. You don't have to try and ban it from the whole class. That's my opinion.
Right. Okay, so here's one more real quick. This is from theblaze.com. So, quote, according to a Tuesday Newsweek report, middle school and high school English teachers will not be able to include the following books in lessons following reports of parental concerns and racism. And sorry, this is in Burbank, California. So the following books: Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, Mark Twain's The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, Theodore Taylor's The K, which I haven't heard of until now, Mildred D. Taylor's Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, which won the Newbery Medal back in '77 or something like that. The outlet reported that 4 parents, 3 of whom are black, reportedly said that the classic novels posed alleged potential harm to the district's roughly 400 black students. So essentially, this story, I'm not quoting the article here, but I'm
Huckleberry
paraphrasing.
Finn.
So basically, they were reading these books out loud, and one of the students said, or they learned. The story is they learned, in quotation marks, the N-word from one of these books and taunted black students with this word. So, and they wanted to ban the books because of that. This is a trickier one. So, what do you guys say about this?
Let's let Isaiah go first.
I mean, I guess it's like what Cooper said. Like, if you don't want them to learn the N-word or say it, like, literally just don't say it. Like, you could just say blacks or something like that instead of that.
Yeah. But what do you say with, like, the concern of, honestly, I feel like before you read this book, you should have a study of what life was like and why it was wrong back then.
Because it's really,
we're all homeschool here, I guess, but
it's just history. It's just what already happened. It doesn't mean that just because you read the book and it has some,
look, what I'm saying is
racist things in it, that doesn't mean that's what you want to do in the future. It's just it's a book about life in the past.
The story is this guy, this kid learned the N-word and taunted black people with it, and that's why I tried to get banned.
That's why it's trickier, is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
The people there's always going to be people who are just going to go out there and say whatever they want to whoever they want, whenever they want, and the truth of it is they're going to learn bad words eventually anyway. So I mean, if you're going to cancel every single thing in public school that has a bad word, if you're just going to pick and choose ones, this is not the one.
We live in a cancel culture, sadly, where people, like, they don't want to educate, they want to eliminate. They don't think about the surrounding context and tell them the surrounding context. They just immediately go for the text, like, quote. straight without any context of the situation around it.
Right.
Which is why
I mean, like this person.
like it makes more sense to just educate people on the surroundings, like Matthew said, of the book and why this is wrong and all of that before you read it. Yes, that makes sense. But the answer is not
Right.
to eliminate it. It's to educate.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what what was I gonna say. Oh yeah, so this person, the mom, who is, I mean, rightly concerned. Like I do not blame her in the slightest. But I really think this is more of the person issue than the book issue. I mean, the book is, it's definitely anti-racist. Like, there's no way that it's pro-racist anyway, right, guys?
100%.
Yeah, right. This
So-
is what I was saying earlier. Like, if your kid has an issue, then address the issue. But
Yeah,
that's what I was saying.
exactly. All right.
Yeah.
So here's one more real quick, and then we'll start off just discussing the book. So this is from Marshall University's website. So, quote, a white substitute teacher at the Mustang, Oklahoma high school read the N-word aloud from To Kill a Mockingbird. The only black student in the class recorded the reading, notified the teacher that she was offended, and brought the matter to the attention of the principal. The district adopted a new policy stating that racially charged language will no longer be spoken in classrooms. The status of the substitute teacher is not known, end quote. So, what's up with this one, guys?
So I have a question. Did you say that she said
She
the
was just
word
reading it
while
aloud.
reading the book aloud?
Yeah, she was just reading it aloud, yes.
Ooh.
Oh my.
So a lot of these, I didn't get several of them, but several of the reports of this being banned were because just of the N-word being said, right? Not in an offensive manner, but just reading the book aloud and it having N-word in it.
I agree that there should not be that like people just being racist should not just say the N-word all the time at schools. That should be a rule at schools. But if you assign a class a book to read, then I don't know how you can get mad at the teacher for reading that book.
Yeah.
Like you told her to read the book to the class. That's your job, teacher. Go read that book. Oh, you read the book? You said that word in the book?
Yeah, it does seem kind
you're
of
fired.
like, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like we just said before, that book is just to teach you about like what happened in the past too. Like,
Right.
or not just to, but that's one of the parts of the book.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, they're taking it out of context. They put that language in there. They put the language in there so that they can prove their point about how bad that was. Like, I don't believe that Harper Lee, I don't know her personally, but I believe that Harper Lee did not add those words just to add those words to racially charge it. I
Right.
believe that she added those words to
Right,
add
of course she
did.
context and to help educate people on how times were back then and how wrong that was.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Like the family that Harper Lee created in the book. What was their last name? The
Finches.
Finches.
Yeah, the Finches, the family, the main family that you're following the entire time. Once the two kids learned that word at school and said it once at home in front of their dad immediately put an end to it and told them that they could not say that word, that it was offensive and that it was unnecessary and that there was no reason to call them anything besides what they were, and that they were really just people just like them. That's what
Right.
he told them. And so it's actually a great teaching, like Tanner was saying, educating thing in the book, like to learn that yes, that word is out there, but no, it's not good. You don't need to say it.
Right.
Like, as to put it that simply, I guess.
All right. Exactly. All right. So that closes out that segment. So should we actually? We're starting a new segment. It's called "The Book in 30 Seconds."
Again,
So,
we've done this like 4 times, and you keep calling it a new segment.
That's the joke.
Yeah. Welcome to the book in 30 seconds. Isaiah, why don't you describe the plot of this book to our listeners in 30 seconds or less?
So basically, in this book, well, there are 4 parts of this book where the kids learn 4 lessons in the book. And in the beginning of the book, they learn that like to look through other people's eyes, or like be in their shoes, not just to look at it through what you see, but to see what they see too. Like for the court that helps you to look through all the to question all the witnesses. And they go to not to kill a mockingbird, and that's also a metaphor to like not to hurt or kill anyone that's helpless. And then it goes to
You're at 40 seconds.
yeah. Someone else do this, please. I'm trying to remember the end of the lessons.
All right, Matthew, why don't you go ahead?
So throughout the entire book, you're following the Finches, the family consisting of Scout, her older brother, and her dad, along with their housemaid, and you follow them through the challenges they go through as children and as they're growing up. You see them get to go to school for the first time. You see them when they have their little superstitions, the games they play as their kids, their friends. You get to see what they learn about as far as like racism and like how imperfect the world is. And you see their father being a great example to them. Then a little bit later, you see their father being a great example by. Then later on, you see their father being a great example by defending the black person when nobody else will, when he's convicted for a crime that he didn't do, and it ends up going badly anyway, and the situation turns out bad. But he showed his what am I trying to say? His honor. He showed his respect, I guess. Like he just showed that he was a good enough person to do what was right for another person. And so then after that, the book just ends off and like with just continuing the story of Scout and her older brother, and just like how they go for the rest of their childhood.
Mm-hmm.
That got kind of lame because Isaiah interrupted me with his text messages.
Oh well. Anyway, so one thing that was apparent reading this book was this book is really about a coming of age story with Scout, and it's not really about the trial. It's not the main point of the story. I mean, it's really just about a country life and a coming of age story for Scout. That's really what it is.
Yeah, agreed.
And you can even make an argument that the trial is even less a part of the story than the Boo Radley part. I mean, that pretty much is one of the main plots of the story too, right?
Yeah, especially at the beginning, like the first half of the book, I'd say.
Yeah, in the end too. Yeah,
definitely the first fourth. They're very concerned about Boo Radley, and then Boo Radley, who is obviously explain this. He's like kind of like the creepy guy of the town. Like everybody's heard stories about him, and he gets talked up because he stays inside all day, and nobody has seen him for years, and so everybody just tells stories about him, and he's like kind of the ghost guy, and people claim they see him at night and all this creepy stuff. But eventually, like you meet him, or Scout meets him at the end, and he turns out to be a nice guy who saves their life. So yeah, he wasn't that bad, and it was interesting because like he was their childhood fascination. Like they were obsessed with Boo Radley. They just wanted to find out. They wanted to see Boo Radley. That's all they wanted to do was see Boo Radley. So they always tried to come up with ways to get him out of his house. And but then at the end they got to meet him, and Scout really felt like she grew up after that. She finally got to complete her childhood goal and see Boo Radley.
Yeah,
I did. I'll say this. I always thought it was funny that his name was Boo Radley, like Bradley. I don't know. I thought it was funny. That probably wasn't on purpose.
No. Anyway, this book, one of the best, like it's almost flawless book, right? I mean, masterfully written. It's written in, Scout telling the story, older Scout telling a story to her past self, which is really hard to write for an entire book. Almost. I mean, it's not the same as Tolkien in The Hobbit or Lewis in the Chronicles of Narnia kind of telling the story to you like by the fire, but it's more like someone recounting the events that they had in their childhood, and it was really well done, and I was really impressed.
I think, because it's really, after you've read it for a while, you start thinking about it the same way as you think about like probably like a third person past tense story, just like a regular third person story when there's almost like a narrator just telling a story of kids saying all their names. But even though like she did say I every time she spoke, you still felt the same. You still like appreciated it the same, and you understood it. It was almost like a first person like story, but you read it like it was a third person story. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
I wish I could write like that.
Yeah. All right. So this will be my first and last question at the episode before we do donor shoutouts. Is this a kid's book? Why or why not?
I would say no, or depends your definition of a kid. Probably like
Yeah, but
wait to
just
read
go
it.
ahead
till-
and go ahead and give your opinion. Just say like why you think it's
I
not.
think a good age to read it would be around our age, like around like 14 or 15.
Yeah.
And the reason why that is because of the like talks about rape in there, like the N-word and some more mature topics, stuff like that.
Definitely. Tanner, Matthew.
Yeah, I agree with Isaiah in that it's definitely a more mature book. You need to be older to understand it and to really actually appreciate it, I guess, in a way for the like point of the story, which has seemed to be overlooked in today's society. But the like age that I do would definitely be for 14, 15 up. Like you have to be mature enough to understand all the subjects that are put into this book and to really appreciate them and know what to repeat, know what not to repeat, and really know what's appropriate and what's not appropriate.
I agree with them too. I would stick with the same age level of like 15 years old, just because, I mean, I'm sure there are some 12, 13, 14-year-olds out there that can read this book and appreciate it and understand it, like we were saying. Well, obviously, Tanner's 14, but
14 too.
For like 3 days.
True.
Until next
well,
week.
This only got a few days.
Yeah.
It's actually 2.
Anyways, beside the point. But yeah, I was also gonna say that like, even, I mean, you can make the argument that like kids see like a lot of movies and read a lot of books that like they enjoy and stuff just goes over their heads, which is true because they just don't know about it. But I don't think if I was a kid, even if it went over my head, all the bad stuff in this book, I don't think I would enjoy the book as much as I did now, because I wouldn't appreciate the history. I wouldn't appreciate the circumstance. I would have just thought it was kind of a boring story about like a weird country girl.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it has a kid character. Main character is a kid. And I mean, it's written through the perspective of a kid, yet it has adult themes. So it's kind of weird. It almost feels like it wants to be a kid's book, but it's not. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I think definitely not a kid's book in readability age range for sure. All right. Well, that about wraps up this episode. Let's do some donor shout outs. Okay.
And by the way, guys, we apologize for our bad audio quality on this episode. It's
dude, I got my mic. I'm good.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I've kind of had a crazy few weeks. Just moved, had Christmas, went to Big Bend with Cooper, had fun time. Basically exhausted. Stayed up till like 3 a.m. with Matthew today. Like, just great stuff.
All right, let's do some donor shout outs. How do you guys want to do these?
Say the names.
Isaiah, come on, man. Okay. I'm gonna say.
We got like 2 minutes left, dude.
I'm gonna say the donor. You guys say what bird you think the donor represents.
A bird? Yeah, I only know bird and bird.
What? No,
bird and bird. What? What does that mean?
Yeah, BIRD and BYRD. No, like a bird. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay.
I got you, Cooper. I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll do it too.
Tanner.
I'm kidding.
Nana.
Mockingbird.
Wow, so creative.
All right, Matthew, Pappy, and Wayla.
Blue Jays.
All right, Isaiah's grandparents, Isaiah.
Redbird. Like
all right,
Robin or whatever it's
and
called.
Isaiah's sister, Becky, Tanner.
Mockingjay.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say for Chris.
Dang it.
Okay.
All right, Matthew, Isaiah's uncle Sevi.
Isaiah's uncle Sevi. Red-tailed hawk.
Oh, it's a pretty hot bird. All right,
Dang.
Oh,
Isaiah,
yeah, I actually saw one.
your aunt and uncle.
Interesting.
A bald eagle.
Oh, that's a pretty good one too. God bless America. All right, Tanner, Isaiah's cousins.
Bergen Falcon.
Oh yeah, fastest animal on earth. All right, Matthew, Chris.
An owl. That's all I could think of.
Make sure to check
Tweety
out.
bird.
Make sure to check out Chris's podcast, Like Lightning,
All
and
caps.
go to patreon.com/bookinit to support us. Until next time.
Keep on booking it.